Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing my fall knitting plans with you. I recently made a video chatting about all of my fall sewing plans, so this is a bit of a part 2 to that video. I wanted to have a video dedicated just to my fall knitting plans, so that's what we're doing today. If you are new to my channel, my name's Rebecca and I love sharing all of my sewing and knitting and slow fashion projects with you here. So if those are interests of yours as well, please do consider hitting the subscribe button below to see more of my content in the future. And let's go ahead and get into what I'm planning on knitting for the next few months. So first up, I have 2 projects that are actually already WIPs. I've already begun working on them, and I want to share those with you as well today. The first of which is using some stash yarn left over from a recently finished project. So if you follow me over on Instagram, you may have seen that I recently knit a dress. I knit the All Good dress by Knit On Me. And it's basically an oversized t-shirt dress that is quite long, and it's knit using a single strand of fingering weight yarn. So that was a big project to have completed. I really loved the result, and I really enjoyed working with the yarn. I had about 2.5 skeins of my fingering weight yarn. I used Cascade 220 fingering left over, and I decided that I wanted to make a scarf. So I did a little bit of searching around on Ravelry and I found a free pattern for basically a triangle scarf that uses fingering weight yarn. It's a free pattern from Pearl Soho and it's called the Soiree scarf. So that's what I'm working on. As I said, I'm using Cascade 220 in fingering and the color that I'm using is black. And being a free pattern, I'm not giving anything away. Basically, you start with a small number of stitches and gosh, I think it was like 2 or 3, a really small number of stitches, and then you gradually increase until you get to the halfway point and then you decrease. So I'm using more yarn than the large size of the scarf recommends, but because there's a halfway point and from there you increase and then at the halfway point you decrease, I know how much yarn I have, I can weigh it, and then when I get to my halfway point, I'll switch to decreasing. So here's what I've got so far. It's basically a big triangle. And as you can see, you start with a really skinny end and it gets bigger and bigger. And then I did actually just reach the halfway point, so I've just started decreasing. But I just thought it would be really nice to have a lightweight, a fingering weight scarf to kind of throw on when it's cooler. And as I said, I wanted to use up all of that yarn that I had left over from the dress. And so I've got a really easy, kind of mindless stockinette project. In general, I want to start making more scarves. I've never really knit like a textured shawl, and I think that would be really fun. So I see myself making more accessories in the future, but for right now, I've got my fingering weight triangle scarf on the needles. So my second project for fall knitting, I have also already begun. I've actually gotten quite far into this project, and this is a pattern that I've made before, and I wanted to make it again in a different color. So this is the Highland Slipover, which is a pattern by Ozetta. And when I made it the first time, I used a fisherman's wool, which is a Lion Brand yarn, and it's kind of a natural off-white, almost buttery yellow. I'll insert some pictures. But basically it's an oversized slipover. I love a slipover. I'm wearing one today. This is the vest number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. And yeah, I just really like to have a slipover to put on over a t-shirt, particularly in the fall. So for my second time with this pattern, I've chosen to use Cascade 220, and I'm using it in this lovely Merlot red color. I'll try to show you some of the yarn here. It's a really beautiful yarn. I just love this color. And I heard from several of you in the comments of a video that I made about affordable 100% wool yarns. A lot of you suggested that I try Cascade 220, and at that time I was aware of the fingering weight, and for whatever reason I hadn't come across the worsted weight, and so I'm giving it a go and I'm really enjoying working with it so far. I have, like I said, I've made quite a bit of progress on this already. So I've joined in the round under the armpit there, and I'm just going now doing the body in the round until I get the length that I want, and then I'll add the ribbing. And then you just pick up at the neckline and at the armhole edges to do the ribbing there. The neckline does have you do a folded over, so it's kind of like this collar actually, and then the armhole edges are just done in ribbing. So it's a really quick project. It's, as I said, it's a worsted weight on US size 7 needles. It's going really quickly. The yarn is really, really soft. I'm really pleased. It's not itchy at all. And the Highland slipover will sit, touching my neck a little bit. So I'm really pleased with how soft it is. I love this color. And yeah, this was kind of a birthday purchase for me. I had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, and so I got myself some yarn, and this is my second fall knitting project. Okay, now we're getting into plans, things that I don't necessarily have patterns or materials for, but things that I want to make during the next few months. So, referencing again a recent make, a knitting project that I finished recently that I have absolutely fallen in love with and worn almost every day since finishing it is this brown essential sweater, which is a pattern by Darling J'adore. And I've talked about it in other videos. I won't get into the details of it, but basically I altered it to have a thicker yarn than the pattern suggests, and I also changed the neckline. So I'll just hold it up quickly here. It's a kind of oversized mock neck, long sleeve with chunky ribbing, and I have been, oh, it's a raglan, raglan sweater, I should mention that. But I have been wearing this every day since I finished it. When it's cold in the morning, when I wake up, I throw it on like I would a sweatshirt. Same thing in the evening, and I've just been taking it on and off throughout the day as you would, a sweatshirt. And so I really, really love the style, the silhouette. I love the neck being a little bit higher when it's cold outside. And so I think that there's more room in my collection of knitwear for another kind of higher neck turtleneck sweater. I don't really have that. And I've seen a lot of people talking about the Amy sweater by Petite Knit, which just came out recently. It's also a raglan. It has a turtleneck. I believe it's worsted weight yarn. And so while it is a very similar process to making the sweater that I just made, I know how much I love wearing this, and it sort of surprised me how much I enjoyed having a higher neckline sweater. So I think I want to make another one, and this one being a neutral brown, maybe it would be fun to do a pop of color. And I was thinking, because I'm really enjoying working with the Cascade 220 worsted weight, they have so many other beautiful colors available. And it might be fun to do like a punchy blue or green. Yeah, so the Amy sweater is on my radar, as well as turtleneck sweaters in general, which surprised me. I didn't think I would want to have wool so close, but I think with an oversized fit, it's not tight. And so I found it to be really comfortable and really cozy, and I definitely want to make another raglan turtleneck sweater. In addition, another thing that I really want to do more of with my knitting in general is to knit more textured knits. I haven't done a lot of it. I did make the Ingrid Slipover by Petite Knit, which is an all-over textured, pattern repeated slipover, and I really enjoyed working on it. I was intimidated to do something like that because I never had before, but the pattern was really easy to follow and basically just a combination of knits and purls that creates a really beautiful texture pattern. And I know that Petite Knit has a few others kind of in a similar vein where it looks like all over texture, but you're just doing a lot of knitting and purling. So I'm considering her patterns. I can put a couple here on screen that I've seen recently and really liked, but I'm not a huge fan of the look of cables visually. I think that they are really heavy visually. Does that make sense? Like they're really chunky. And so I don't know that I would want to do all over cables, for instance, but in general, I have on my list that I want to make a textured sweater because I've made a textured pullover. So if you have a textured sweater pattern that is beginner friendly, that you enjoyed making, or even that you've seen and just really had your eye on, please do let me know in the comments below because I want to do more textured knits. And yeah, I I've seen a few that kind of have intrigued me, but I haven't pinpointed one in particular, so let me know. Let me know what I should make. I also recently knit the Musselburgh hat pattern, which is, it has a really cool construction where essentially you knit a really long tube and then turn it inside of itself to create kind of a classic shaped beanie. And I really enjoyed knitting that one. I think when I'm done with my fingering weight triangle scarf, I will probably cast on another Musselburgh hat. The first one that I made, I'm really, really pleased with. I really like having a basic stockinette project for TV watching. Right now I've got a couple on the needles. So yes, I really enjoyed the result of my first Musselburgh hat, but I don't love the color on me. It is very similar to my skin tone, and I think it just washes me out a little bit. So I definitely want to make another Musselburgh hat and in a color that suits me a little better, maybe like a navy or a charcoal gray, something that I could pair with the majority of my clothing and other knits, and that would just go really well for fall. So those are kind of the projects that I have in mind for the next few months. Nothing crazy, nothing too ambitious, but I've really been enjoying having kind of relaxed, easy knits, raglan sweaters, stockinette sweaters. I do want to throw a textured knit into the mix, but right now I'm just really enjoying knitting stockinette in the round and yeah, easy, cozy projects. That's kind of the theme of my fall so far. I have a couple of sewing projects that are quite mind and labor intense, and so having relaxing knitting projects in the evening has been really, really good for me. Do let me know in the comments what you are working on and what your knitting plans are for the coming fall and winter season. I would love to know and get inspiration from you guys and what you're doing too. I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me for a little bit today. Thanks so much for sticking around if you made it to the end of today's video. I hope that you are all doing really well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one very, very soon.